It was the winter of 218 BC, and the mountains stood like walls of ice. Men slipped on frozen paths. Horses collapsed without warning. War elephants, towering symbols of power, struggled to breathe in the thin air. At the center of it all, a young general moved forward without hesitation. Hannibal Barca did not turn back. Behind him lay Spain. Ahead of him, Rome. His army had already lost thousands. Hunger followed them. Death walked beside them. And yet, he pressed on, leading them across the Alps, a route no army had ever taken before. One soldier later wrote that, "We followed him not because we hoped to win, but because we feared to stop." And still, Hannibal kept going. Because he believed something almost impossible, that Rome, the rising power of the ancient world, could be broken. But standing there, in the silence of the mountains, one question remained. Was this the beginning of Rome's fall, or the first step toward Hannibal's own defeat? History often remembers Hannibal as a military genius, the man who crossed the Alps and terrified Rome. That part is true. But it is not the full story. Because Hannibal did more than invade Rome's territory. He came closer than anyone else to destroying Rome itself. And yet, he failed. So what went wrong? In this story, three truths begin to emerge. First, Hannibal's greatest victories may have also been his greatest weakness. Second, Rome was not just an army, it was a system that could not easily break. And third, the war Hannibal fought was not decided on the battlefield alone. So the real question is not simply how Hannibal fought, but why, after coming so close, he could not finish the war. Before Hannibal ever stepped onto Roman soil, the world around him was already shaped by conflict. Rome was rising. Not quickly, not suddenly, but steadily, with discipline and patience. Its power did not depend on one man. It depended on its system, a network of allies, soldiers, and laws that held the republic together. The Senate, Rome's ruling council, made decisions that outlived any single leader. For ordinary people, life was harsh but predictable. War was common. Loyalty was expected. And survival often depended on choosing the right side. Across the sea, in North Africa, stood Carthage, wealthy, powerful, and deeply competitive with Rome. This was not just a rivalry. It was a struggle for control of the Mediterranean world. And then came a surprising reality: Carthage, unlike Rome, did not rely on citizen armies. It depended heavily on mercenaries, soldiers paid to fight. This difference would shape everything that followed. Hannibal was born into this tension. His father, Hannibal Barca, had already fought Rome, and lost. As a child, Hannibal was brought to an altar. There, he made a promise that would define his life. He swore eternal hatred toward Rome. From that moment, his path was set. But here is the deeper truth: Hannibal did not just inherit a war. He inherited a system already at a disadvantage. Hannibal's rise began with a test. In Spain, he took command of Carthaginian forces at a young age. Many doubted him. He was bold, but unproven. Then came his first major decision. Instead of waiting for Rome to attack, he chose to strike first. It was a risk, but also a statement. When he attacked the city of Saguntum, a Roman ally, he knew what it would trigger. War was no longer avoidable. Rome responded exactly as expected. But Hannibal had already made his next move. Rather than meet Rome at sea, where Carthage had grown weaker, he chose the unexpected path, over land, through hostile territory, and across the Alps. It was a decision that shocked the ancient world. Why take such a dangerous route? Because Hannibal understood something critical: Rome expected logic. He would give them surprise. The journey was brutal. By the time he reached Italy, his army had been reduced by nearly half. And yet, what remained was enough. At the Battle of Cannae, Hannibal faced a Roman force nearly twice the size of his own. What followed became one of the greatest tactical victories in history. He surrounded the Roman army. Slowly. Completely. By the end of the day, tens of thousands of Roman soldiers lay dead. A Roman historian later wrote, "Never had there been such slaughter." And still, Hannibal did not march on Rome. Why? This is where the myth begins to break. Many believed he hesitated. That he missed his chance. But the reality was more complex. Hannibal lacked the siege equipment needed to attack a fortified city like Rome. His army, though brilliant, was far from home. Reinforcements were uncertain. Victory in battle did not mean victory in war. And Rome, even after such a disaster, refused to surrender. At his peak, Hannibal controlled much of southern Italy. He had defeated Rome again and again. He had done what no one thought possible. And yet, something began to shift. Rome changed its strategy. Instead of facing Hannibal directly, they avoided large battles. They stretched the war. They attacked his allies. They cut his supply lines. They used time as a weapon. Hannibal, for all his brilliance, could not force Rome into a final decision. His victories became isolated moments, powerful, but not decisive. And slowly, the cost began to show. He lost men. He lost support. He remained far from home, with no clear path to end the war. Then came the turning point. Rome invaded North Africa. Now, the war moved to Hannibal's homeland. He was forced to return. At the Battle of Zama, he faced a Roman general named Scipio. For the first time, Hannibal was outmatched. His tactics were understood. His army was weaker. His advantage was gone. And this time, Rome won. In the end, Hannibal did not die on the battlefield. He lived on, moving from place to place, always pursued by Rome. The man who once threatened an empire became a fugitive. Years later, surrounded and with no escape left, he made his final decision. He chose death over capture. It was quiet. Unseen. But it carried the weight of everything that came before. Because Hannibal had come closer than anyone else to breaking Rome, and still, he failed. Was it inevitable? Perhaps the answer had always been there. Rome did not depend on one victory. It endured. Without Hannibal, Rome might never have become what it did. His invasion forced Rome to adapt, to strengthen, to become more disciplined than ever before. Many of Rome's later military strategies were shaped by the lessons they learned from him. Even their caution, their refusal to rush into battle, came from facing Hannibal. History often calls him a defeated general. But that judgment is incomplete. Because defeat does not erase impact. Hannibal changed Rome, and in doing so, he changed the future of the Mediterranean world. And yet, history also misunderstood him. He was not reckless. He was not careless. He was a strategist who understood war deeply, but fought against a system that could outlast him. That is the truth often missed. So what, in the end, defeated Hannibal? Was it his own limits? Or was it Rome's ability to endure beyond any single battle? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between. Because Hannibal proved that even the greatest victories are not enough, if the enemy refuses to collapse. And that raises a final question. Was Hannibal truly defeated, or did Rome simply survive him? If this story changed how you see history, not as simple victories, but as long struggles shaped by time, then follow this channel.